You are watching the Steelers Talk Live show here on a Thursday. Thank you to everybody that's tuning in to begin today's show. And we got a bunch of great Steelers content coming your way here over the next 90 minutes or so. We're going to start things off today by going over some trade candidates for the Pittsburgh Steelers, some players that are mostly on the final year of their contract, where if the Steelers struggle to start the season here in 2024, they could potentially be dealt during the season or even potentially during the offseason here. So we've got some options for you there. Then our final segment today, I'm going to give you guys my official full 2024 Steelers record prediction. We'll go through all 17 games, and I'll give you my breakdown of each matchup and where I think the Steelers are going to end up at the end of the year. And also make sure you guys go get down there right now in the live chat. Use hashtag Steelers or Super Chat to get on the mailbag today. Really do appreciate your support. And Coop is already
He's already
waving his towel. Coop, it's good to see you. It's been a while.
It's great to see you as well. The NBA has gotten in our way, but I'm glad to be back on Steelers Talk for another week. Let's freaking go, baby.
Let's get it, baby. Coop, last time that you've been here, or since you've been here, a lot of stuff has happened.
There's been a lot.
I mean, the whole NFL draft has passed since the last time you've been on the show. So let me get your thoughts real quick on the overall draft class for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, bringing in Fautano, Zach Frazier, Roman Wilson, Peyton Wilson, Mason McCormick. What do you think?
I think they did a good job. I think they filled most of the major needs that they have. I still think there are a couple of outstanding things that they probably need to make themselves true contenders. Like, I think they still need another wide receiver.
Yep.
Maybe another corner.
Maybe.
Yeah. I know, but overall, I think they did a very good job. I love the Roman Wilson pick.
Yeah, Roman Wilson in third
Great
round.
pick.
He looked damn good during rookie minicamp last week. So it's going to be a lot of fun this year, man. And Coop's going to be with us for the entire 2024 season. But right now, Dallas, the Mavericks are playing quite well. So I guess depending on how far they go.
Hopefully all the way.
Hopefully all the way. I mean, you were a little bit spoiled last year with your Rangers.
I was indeed.
Winning the championship last year, the World Series. So we got a bunch of great stuff coming your way, man. And Coop, it's been a while here, so grab your towel. We need to get things going. We need to get this show started on the right foot here. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Coop, it's good to have you back, my friend.
You too.
So now, let's talk about this for a little bit here. So now that I've gotten your thoughts on the draft class, of course, we just got word on our schedule yesterday. What are your thoughts on the Pittsburgh Steelers 2024 schedule, and what do you think their final record is going to be?
I can't wait because your record prediction is about to get something spicy. DK brings Sperry. Everyone type F Sperry in the chat because he needed to bring his charger.
Yeah.
DK needed to bring his charger because Sperry forgets every single time.
Right. Thanks, DK. All right, guys.
Record prediction.
Let us know.
The Steelers could win anywhere from 8 to 13 games. I'm going to split the hairs. I'm going to go 11-6.
You're going to go 11-6. It's not bad. It's definitely not bad. What are your thoughts on the early part of the schedule? Because Colin Cowherd said on his podcast last night that he thought that the beginning of the schedule was tough for the Steelers. But honestly, I think
it's the end.
I think the end is what's really tough. And honestly, I think what's at the beginning is kind of the easiest portion of the schedule.
Well, because you play all your division opponents in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I think you have 6 divisional games in the final 8 weeks. And then the weeks you're not playing in the division, which is, by the way, the most physical division in football, you have to play the Philadelphia Eagles on the road and then the reigning champs at home on Christmas Day. So
when you're already beat up.
Yeah, when you're already beat up. So it's going to be interesting to see how that whole dynamic plays out. But, those first 4 weeks, Atlanta, I think, is a very winnable football game. I mean, that will probably be the toughest game there of those first 3 games, in my opinion. But then you get Denver on the road. That should be a win. against probably Bo Nix at that point. And if it's not him, it's going to be Zach Wilson. And I just feel like Russell Wilson's going to be able to get a W there. The Chargers, what do you think of the Chargers game there? Because, like,
I don't know what to think of that Chargers team. Like,
I don't think they're going to be very good.
Everyone's kind of picking them as a dark horse team. Not really for me. I mean, they have Justin Herbert, so you can never count them out, but it's going to be a harder year for them than I think some people think.
Yeah, man, and they're in the middle of rebuild here. Harbaugh likes to do stuff a certain way, and there's still a lot of people in that building that fit more of a Brandon Staley type of system. So it's going to be interesting to see what they end up doing here this year. But honestly, man, I think the Steelers are going to get off to a hot start, and they're going to set themselves up for a potential playoff push in the second half of the year. Now today, our Super Chat menu, got a bunch of great stuff lined up for you guys. Any Super Chat, you're going to get a shout out. And if you put in $10 Super Chats today, you get double the reward, okay? So not only do you get a raffle ticket for our Black Diamond membership raffle at the end of the month,
I didn't even know that was coming.
Yes, because Kurgan Cold put in another $500
that's right.
A couple streams ago.
Kurgan.
And because of that, because he's already a Gold Club member, that means that we will raffle off a Gold Club membership to one lucky person. So if you don't have $500 to spend on a single stream, you want a chance to join Steelers Talk, Black Diamond Club, $10 Super Chat will put you in the running.
Kurgan is ridiculous.
Kurgan is actually ridiculous. But also, because the raffle isn't today, I wanted to give you guys something that was kind of immediate. And we have the Beanboozled jelly beans here today.
They're back.
Coop does not like these at all. So if you want Coop to eat these, please send in the $10 Super Chats.
Does anyone like those?
I don't think anybody likes them, but like you really don't like them.
I'm not a fan.
And neither do I. But for $10 Super Chats today, we'll do these stupid Beanboozled jelly beans for you guys. $20 Super Chat. Not only do you get 2 raffle tickets, not only do Coop and I have to do a Beanboozled jelly bean, but you get your name on the Helmet Hall of Fame here that we're doing during the offseason. We're going to raffle this off at the end of the offseason. So if you want your name on the helmet, $20 Super Chat, and then $100 total today. You get to join Steelers Talk Gold Club. Now Coop's going to be scrolling through all of the names on Gold Club that we have right now because there's so many of them, all right? So it's just gotten to the point where if I list everyone's name, it takes so long, and I don't want to waste 3 minutes of today's show going through all of the names. So I want to give a big shout out to all of our Gold Club members. $100 Super Chat, you get to get these shout outs on every single Steelers Talk live show, and you get a nice Super Chat sticker every time that you Super Chat here on the show. And I want to give a special shout out to our Steelers Talk Black Diamonds. We are actually raffling off one of these Black Diamond memberships here at the end of the month. To get into this, you usually have to put in $500 on a singular stream, Coop. These are the Steelers Talk legends.
The real ones.
So shout out to Sam Pugh, F1, Nathan Glass, Kurgan Cold, Go Blue Buckeye, Elliptic 6, Gwendolyn, Marilyn Krieger. Marilyn, I saw you down there in the chat earlier. Thanks for tuning in. Omar's Burner. I see Omar's Burner already getting going with the Super Chats today. Kyle King, and then KJ Live Life. Those guys are these people right here are the lifeblood of this channel, the true legends of Steelers Talk. And for just a $10 Super Chat, just like Omar's Burner gets right here, you're going to have a chance to become a Black Diamond yourself. So Omar's Burner gets us going here and says, Beanboozled, I see. Let's get that rolling. Happy to see Coop. Haven't seen him in a while, LOL. So Coop, because
don't forget the end.
The end. Okay. Yes. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. You gotta love it, man. Omar's Burner, thank you so much, my friend. So you want some Beanboozled here. So Coop, you get the first one because you haven't been on the show for a while.
What flavor do I have?
So what color is it?
Red?
It's red? So it's old Band-Aid then. It's the worst flavor, folks. By the way, $10 Super Chats. We're doing Beanboozled today. The flavors include old Band-Aid, stinky socks, barf, dirty dishwater, dead fish, booger, rotten egg, liver and onions, and stink bug. So
also, Omar, I literally saw you last night on my Maverick stream. It's not like we haven't seen each other.
Absolutely. All right, Coop.
All right.
Down the hatch. Stop stalling.
God almighty.
We got lots of content to get to today.
I got my water ready.
Yeah! Woo! Welcome back to the show, Coop. Let's go.
F you, Omar.
You know the rules. You got to finish it. You got to finish it. All right. I get the next Beanboozled, folks. So the next 10 that comes in, I'll do a Beanboozled. But we got a bunch of great stuff coming your way here, guys. We got trade candidates. We got my official record prediction today. And, of course, you can get your questions on the mailbag today when you use hashtag Steelers or Super Chat. I don't see too many questions down there right now, but I want to give some shout-outs to everybody that's getting down there into the live chat. I want to shout out Scott, Omar's Burner, Big Uzi Vert, Young Noticeable, Josh, Robert Road, we got Mike, we got Trey, we got Zach, we got Josh, we got DeBerg, we got Daniel, we got Chuck, we got Marilyn. What's up, Marilyn? It's good to see you. We got Adam. Who else wants a super chat here? We got Adam, we got Scott. And Scott says, way to go, Coop. Everybody give it up for Coop for putting down the first Beanboozled today.
Are something serious.
I don't know what they do, and you know what? The worst job to have in the world, Coop, is to be the taste tester for like 4 different beans that are supposed to taste like old Band-Aid. I mean,
that person better get paid a lot of money.
Yeah, at least 6 figs a year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of easy because like you don't have to do a lot of like actual work, but at the end of the day, you're tasting a lot of really bad jelly beans.
I actually can't wait for the start of this next segment.
Me too. The trade candidates?
Just the beginning.
We do have something fun for you guys at the beginning of this first segment. So make sure you click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. We got 108 people watching, only 30 likes. We need to get to 50 likes before we get to our first segment today. So,
like the video.
So type me down there in the live chat if you have already clicked the thumbs up icon. I want to see who the real ones are right now. Click that thumbs up icon and then type me down there in the comments section for a shout out. Shout out to Trey. Shout out to Pat. Shout out to Cassie, my girlfriend who's in the chat. Everybody say hello to Cassie down there in the chat.
Cassie, how was Minnesota?
We got Adam. We got Marilyn. We got Kevin Abshire. Make sure you guys get your questions down there too, by the way. Hashtag Steelers or Super Chat to get on the mailbag today.
If Cassie asks a question, you'll get on it.
Absolutely. Shout out to Young Noticeable. Shout out to David. Shout out to Jacob. Shout out to Brock Walker. Shout out to Monty Gaming. Shout out to Travis. Oh, another Super Chat coming in from Ricky Campbell. You gotta love it. Ricky Campbell says, I've had a lot of fans on Facebook saying Russell Wilson is washed up. I don't think so. Russell Wilson will help the Steelers win the division. Ricky, I'm going to answer this question, give my thoughts on Russell Wilson. This will be the first question up on today's mailbag. Thank you for your $5 super chat. And we got up to 50 likes right now, so that means we're going to get into our first segment here on Steelers Talk Live, which is Steelers trade candidates for the 2024 season. Today on Steelers Talk, I'm going to be talking about 6 players currently on the Steelers roster that I think could be traded during the 2024 offseason or during the 2024 NFL season for the Pittsburgh Steelers here. Trade candidates for the black and gold coming your way here in just a second. But before we get into that, help me beat my fellow colleague here at Chat Sports. He is the Browns, Broncos, and Falcons host here at Chat Sports, Matthew Peterson. You guys know him as the host of the Browns Report, and he's challenged me to a Twitter follower battle this week where whoever adds the most new followers on X or Twitter, whatever you guys want to call it, is going to win the competition. Right now, PD is beating me by 5 new followers. If you want to check me out at Jack_Sperry and give me a follow real quick, you can help me beat our Browns host here at Chat Sports. And if that's not enough, this is something that Matthew Peterson actually told me yesterday after the Steelers' schedule came out. I literally can't wait to play the Steelers this year. Deshaun Watson is finally going to break out. The Browns have the best defense and best defensive player in the world, talking about Myles Garrett, and Steelers fans are finally going to have to watch the Cleveland Browns hoist a Lombardi trophy this year. I've been waiting for this year my entire life. All right, so obviously, Petey's got a pretty big mouth on him. He loves to talk shit. I want to beat him this week, so if you want to help me out right now, go to Twitter or X right now, at Jack_Sperry. Give me a follow. I also give you guys daily Steelers updates and NFL updates every single day up on there. So if you want to help me beat our Browns host right now, go to Twitter/X. Find me at Jack_Sperry and give me a follow. Coop, you have anything to say about Mr. Peterson?
Petey's one of my best friends here at Chat Sports.
Yep.
He just gets a little delusional sometimes.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
We just have to put him in his place. That's all.
Absolutely. So I'm only 5 behind right now. So, if you
can easily catch up.
Easily catch up right now. Let's beat the Browns like we always do. Really do appreciate all of your support. Now, before I get to my trade candidates today, a little bit of a disclaimer here that most of the names on this list today are most likely, if not definitely, not going to be traded before the season during the offseason here. I think most of the names on this list are kind of options for the Steelers if they want to sell players off at the trade deadline this year. If the Steelers are losing football games, for example, Russell Wilson doesn't play well, the team is losing, all these different things, and things are looking bleak, then I think you can start having conversations about some of these players on this list. So we're going to start with Najee Harris here because I don't think he's going to get traded during the offseason, but it's not necessarily impossible. And then if the Steelers end up struggling for the first half of the 2024 campaign, I do think Harris is the type of player that the Steelers would probably sell on the open trade market at the deadline. You look at just the behavior of the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason. They declined his 5th-year option this year. Now, reportedly, the Steelers are working on an extension for Najee Harris, but the only way that really makes sense is if they're trying to sign him for a lower number figure per year against the cap than that 5th-year option would have picked up, which was just $7 million. So I'm actually not convinced that the Steelers are looking to extend Najee, at least not until they see him in this Arthur Smith offense. And if he isn't a good fit, if he's not having success and the Steelers aren't having success, I think that's probably how Najee Harris would get traded if he gets traded this year. Now, I don't think the Steelers are going to stink. I don't think the Steelers are going to be in a position to be sellers at the deadline, so I don't think Najee gets traded this year, but I do think the trade value for him, if you end up letting him go, is probably a 4th-round pick. He plays a low-value position at the running back position there. He hasn't necessarily been the most efficient running back in the National Football League throughout his career, and if he has another slow start this year, that's going to drive down his value even more, so it's probably going to be a day 3 pick for him. My prediction, though, is I think that he's going to stay for the entirety of the season, but I think it's probably going to be his last year in Pittsburgh. I think the Steelers view Jaylen Warren as the long-term number 1 running back option here, somebody that's has a wider skill set, somebody that's more explosive at this point in their respective careers. And I think if they're going to pay one running back, it's going to be Jaylen Warren, and they'll bring somebody else in to be the number 2 running back heading into next year. Plus, if Najee doesn't get paid what he wants to get paid by the Steelers, and it's not looking like the Steelers necessarily want to pay him what he wants, it seems like he might be on his way out after this year. So take a guess for me down there in the comments section. Will 2024 be Najee Harris's last year in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform? Give me a yes or give me a no for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, go down there, find that pinned comment at the top of the comments section, and give me a yes or a no. Now, this one might surprise some people out there, but I do think Landon Roberts is another guy that could be dealt at the deadline if the Steelers are not playing particularly well. Roberts is entering the final year of his 2-year contract that he signed last offseason, and then the Steelers took Peyton Wilson, an inside linebacker, at the end of the 3rd round this year, and Wilson's looking damn good, man. I mean, obviously we haven't seen that much of him. It was just rookie minicamp, but this guy looks like he's going to be one hell of a football player, and he's got the smarts to be a green dot, which is the current role that Roberts currently assumes. And the other thing about Landon is that he's a great blitzer and he's a great run defender. He's one of the best in football at those 2 things, but he's not necessarily the best in terms of pass defense, in terms of going out into zone coverage, man coverage, sticking with receivers receivers and tight ends. That's not his thing. And Peyton Wilson's game is a lot more all-encompassing, where he's a really good pass defender as well in coverage. So I do think that Roberts could be moved at the deadline if the Steelers are not performing to their standards. If they're losing football games, like I said, and the season seems lost, then I do think Roberts would be a potential option to sell on the open market, and he'd probably be worth a 5th-round pick. He is a starter in this league, but he does play a low-value position, and he does have deficiencies in his game, particularly as a pass defender like we're talking about. So listen, I really like Landon Roberts as a player. I thought he had a really good last year, and I think that this is probably going to be his last year in Pittsburgh as well. But I think that he's probably going to be here for the entirety of the season. I think he's going to have a good year here at the Pittsburgh Steelers as the green dot here in the Steelers defense. So coming up here, we got more Steelers trade candidates to talk about on today's show. But before we get into that, I want to tell you guys about our sponsor today at Fanatics. And you can go to chatsports.com/Russ right now to get an officially licensed number 3 Russell Wilson Steelers jersey in your closet today. If you're a big believer in Russell Wilson, you think that he is going to bring this football team to a whole nother level like I think he's going to this year, you can get his jersey right now by going to chatsports.com/Russ. I'm going to put the link to that in the comments and description of today's show. If you use that link, Fanatics will know that we sent you, so I greatly appreciate your support. And then another guy here, and some people are going to get mad at me here, but, Pat Freiermuth, he is on the last year of his contract. He hasn't gotten that extension done yet, and I want to make it abundantly clear here, folks. I think this is pretty unlikely, and I don't want it to happen. I like Pat Freiermuth as a player, and I think that he's going to be most likely a very valuable member of the Steelers offense for a very long time. But is there a path where he could be traded if the Steelers, once again, are not performing well? They're not winning football games? I think there's absolutely a path there. But two things absolutely need to happen for a trade for Pat Freiermuth to happen at the deadline. Number one, Pittsburgh has to be sellers at the deadline. That means the team has to be losing, which I don't see happening anyway. But then number two, he has to be not productive in this offense because he's still young. Right? If the Steelers are struggling, but he's playing well, then you can just sign him to an extension. He's going to be a part of your building blocks here for the next phase of the Steelers moving forward. But if he's not productive, like Kyle Pitts wasn't productive in this Arthur Smith offense, Russell Wilson doesn't necessarily like to throw over the middle to tight ends all that much. It's very possible that Muth is just not all that productive in this offense. And if the Steelers are struggling and they're selling, I think they could get a 3rd-round pick for him because he is a legitimate receiving threat at the tight end position. I know a lot of teams around the National Football League would pay a day 2 pick here for that kind of player. So I think that he's relatively valuable. I don't think he's going to get traded, but I do see a path where he could get traded, which is why he's on the list today. Then another guy that I think is a lot more likely to potentially get traded is James Daniels, the right guard here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the reason why Daniels is on this list and Isaac Seumalo is not going to be on this list is because Daniels is entering the final year of his contract. Seumalo still has 2 more years left on his deal. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers took an interior offensive lineman that I think is a capable starter. I would have been okay if Mason McCormick was brought in to start at center this year, but they ended up getting him and Zach Frazier, so that means McCormick might be more of a long-term plan. With Daniels slated to go out the door here in free agency, maybe the Steelers don't want to spend a whole lot of money on an offensive guard heading into the future. With a potential quarterback contract on the horizon, maybe another wide receiver. And then another thing here is that Mason McCormick played right guard during rookie minicamp. That's where James Daniels plays. So I'm looking at Mason McCormick as probably a long-term option to replace James. I really like Daniels as a player. I think he's been one of the more solid offensive linemen over the last several years while the Steelers have had their struggles along the offensive trenches here. But I do think that James Daniels could be A, included in a trade for a wide receiver, or B, just traded straight up for a day 3 pick. I mean, he is a guard. He's not a tackle, right? So he's not going to be as valuable. I do think a 5th-round pick is probably what you would be able to get for him in a trade straight up. But if you want to go out and get a Cortland Sutton or a DK Metcalf or Deebo Samuel this offseason, I do think James Daniels could be a potential piece to watch out for this offseason. Then we got Dante Jackson here. Of course, you might be saying, Jack, we just traded for Dante Jackson, and you would be 100% right about that. There's no way Dante is getting traded during the offseason, but watch out for him during the trade deadline potentially, especially if Corey Trice Jr. rises up the depth chart here. If Corey Trice really comes out and has a great camp and he usurps Dante Jackson as the second option at outside corner and they don't want to move him into the slot, then Dante is absolutely somebody that could get moved at some point during the 2024 season. And again, he is another guy that's on the last year of his contract. And I just think that, he's somebody that's a solid outside cornerback starter in this league, and you could probably net a 5th or a 6th round pick for his services. He's nothing special, so you're not going to get like a day 2 pick for him or anything like that. But if Corey Trice Jr. really explodes onto the scene here and really solidifies himself as the number 2 outside corner in 2024, and the Steelers are selling, I do think Dante Jackson could potentially be on the chopping block as well. And then somebody that I think is a little bit more likely to hit the trade block here, Dan Moore Jr., offensive tackle. And listen, man, the Steelers have spent a first-round pick the last 2 years consecutively drafting an offensive tackle to essentially replace him. And, it definitely seems like he's going to get phased out. He's in the final year of his contract, and if the Steelers can get a pretty decent value for him, I think they're going to think about moving him, and especially because offensive tackle is such an important position. He's still relatively young. You can argue he's gotten better every single season he's been in the league. There's teams out there like the Washington Commanders, for example, who don't have a bona fide left tackle that might be willing to give up quite a bit for DMJ. Now, personally, I don't want to. I think that he's actually a really good swing tackle option, and if Broderick or Troy Fautano ends up getting hurt this year, I think that, this is somebody with experience. He can play either on the left or right side, and it really keeps your offensive line injury-proof, and that's extremely valuable for a team that's looking to compete for a title this year. So if I'm the Steelers, I'm not letting him go unless I'm getting a really, really good deal, and I would want at least a 5th-round pick in exchange for Dan Moore Jr. I saw an article the other day here that said, Steelers would trade Dan Moore Jr. for a 7th-round pick. I'm not giving up Dan Moore Jr. and that injury insurance for a 7th-round pick. No way. An early a day 3 pick, maybe, but a late day 3 pick, I'm saying I'm going to keep my good swing tackle. Now, let me know down there in the comments section which Steelers player on the roster right now is the most likely to be traded at some point during this year, whether it be during the offseason or whether it be before the trade deadline. Is it Najee Harris? Is it Dan Moore Jr.? Is it, I don't know, Landon Roberts? Let me know down there in the comments section what you guys have to say down there in the comments. And if you want more content from me and you want to help me beat our Browns host here in our Twitter follower battle this week, you can check me out at Jack_Sperry and give me a follow. Really do appreciate all of your support. And then I'm also on Instagram at sparedog.football. So if you want more content from me, you can find me there. Really do appreciate your guys' support. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, here we go, Steelers. All right, first segment in the books here, Mr. Coop.
Dan Moore Jr. for a 7th-round pick?
No way.
What?
Yeah. I mean, listen, Dan Moore Jr. is a swing tackle in my opinion. He's not a bona fide starter. He's somebody that you can trust in a, temporary starting role if thrusted upon into that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not worth a whole lot in the league, but
more than a 7th.
It's more than a 7th to me, man. And, for a team like the Steelers that's trying to compete, injuries happen on the offensive line all the time. So if something happens to Broderick, God forbid, or something happens to Troy Fautano, God forbid, and I do expect those two to be the 2 starting offensive tackles week 1. I mean, you want Dan Moore Jr. as an insurance policy because, he's started games with this offensive line. Like, he knows
he has value to the Steelers.
He has value to the Steelers, and I'm not giving up anything less than giving him up for anything less than a 5th-round pick. Another $10 super chat here from Omar's Burner, and he says, ready to see the Brandon Ayuk rumors start heating up again. And yes, Omar rose through the ranks from financials, so since he's pursuing it, he has a plan. Outscored by 66 in first quarter playoffs. No bueno. What's that last one?
I don't know about the last one. I don't know what he's going for.
What is he talking about with the first one? I don't know. But, I'm looking at this situation here. I don't think the Niners are giving up Brandon Ayuk.
No, I agree.
I think if they get rid of anyone at this point, it's going to be Debo. Unless something crazy happens, like Ayuk straight up says, like, I'm demanding a trade, which I don't think is going to happen.
I don't either.
But that's the only way I could really see Ayuk getting traded to the Steelers is if he straight up demands it at this point. The Niners love him. I mean, he's an all-pro for him.
The last 5 playoff games, the Steelers have been outscored 66-0 in the first quarter.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes sense, man. You need to start scoring points.
Gotta start scoring.
We know the Steelers' defense is great, right? But eventually, you have to acknowledge this is a scoring league. This is an offensive league.
It is no longer.
You have to put up points.
It is no longer defense wins championships. Like it does.
It contributes to winning championships, but
you can't have a pedestrian offense.
Yeah, I mean when was the last time an okay offense won a Super Bowl? The Denver Broncos.
The Broncos, yeah, with Manning.
Yeah, and I think that might be the last time, man, because this is such the rules are skewed so much to the offensive side of the ball now.
Absolutely.
And quarterbacks and all this different stuff because of the rules against hitting across the middle of the field, it benefits the offense so much.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you have to have a high level quarterback, and listen, having a good defense definitely helps.
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong; it helps. It helps you out a lot. Look at the Chiefs last year, right? They had a huge problem at wide receiver. They couldn't throw the ball down the field last year, and they won the Super Bowl because Mahomes is just freaking unbelievable, and then their defense was fantastic.
And now their number 1 wide receiver should be in jail, but that's neither here nor there.
What? Now let's talk about this, Coop. Do we count the Kansas City Chiefs last year as just an okay offense?
No. Never.
Because their wide receivers were terrible.
They were cheeks.
And remember, it wasn't really the offense that was the star of the show in the Super Bowl until the fourth quarter, right? The 49ers were shutting them down.
They have the second best quarterback of all time. I'm not going to say that.
I mean, yeah, they have a great quarterback, but if you look at the team trends, their offense last year was very pedestrian in terms of the stats. And I get that Mahomes in the playoffs brings it to another level.
I honestly,
but you could make an argument that offense last year was a pedestrian offense and they still won the Super Bowl.
This is one of those arguments where I'll say the stats don't matter. In this case, they just don't matter. That is not a pedestrian offense.
When you have Patrick Mahomes.
I think you're avoiding something, sir.
Yes. Okay, so I got a Beanboozled here. No looking. I'm gonna choose from the pile here. Oh no. It's an orange one, so it's either dead fish or bark.
Let's go!
So you guys can see it's orange. You guys, I don't know if you guys can see that on screen. I don't like this. It's dead fish.
Let's go! Suck it.
You guys know the rules. You got to finish it.
Everybody knows the rules.
Everyone knows the rules here, folks.
Use hashtag Steelers or Super Chat to get on our mailbag coming up next.
Every $10 Super Chat, we're doing Beanboozled jelly beans. Oh, God, that tastes terrible.
Let's go.
All right, so make sure you guys get your questions in there. If you got something about Ayuk, if you got something about Sutton, if you got something about Russell Wilson.
We for sure need some more questions.
If you guys have questions about the Cam Hayward situation, there's lots of stuff to talk about. So make sure you guys get your questions down there right now. Hashtag Steelers or Super Chat to get your question on the show. And then let's show the Super Chat menu here real quick. Coop. So any Super Chat, you're going to get your question on the show. $10 Super Chats, not only do you get a raffle ticket to win a Black Diamond membership at the end of the month here, but also we do the Beanboozled Jelly Beans. $20 Super Chat, you get your name on the Helmet Hall of Fame, and then $100 total, you get into Steelers Talk Gold Club. So make sure you guys get your questions in now. For the mailbag, because that's going to be coming up in about 2 to 3 minutes.
Let's get it.
And if you guys want to see some more Beanboozled, keep sending in those $10 Super Chats, and we'll make it happen for you guys.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Lord, what?
Did you see Chase's thumbnail for 49ers?
The one where the reaction one?
The major 49ers.
Yeah, I saw it.
With him on it?
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Oh, man.
I see Timothy Alaska Concepts. Make sure you get your questions in, and we'll get you on the show.
Got Pat down there. We got Timothy. We got Alaska. We got Coach Madonna. We got Kiani Hunter. We got Mario Neves. We got Zachary Zimmerman. We got a bunch of great Yinzers in here today. We got Nice Tokes. We got Kevin. Got Omar's Burner. Got Ricky Campbell. Got Harry Cooper. We got Barry Pace.
Come on, Ricky.
Barry Lee Pace. Sorry about that.
All right.
So make sure you guys get your questions in if you haven't already. We're going to get to this mailbag here pretty darn soon. Coop, did you have any thoughts on my list of trade candidates? Because I didn't want to do just the offseason because the list would have been too short. The Steelers aren't selling players this offseason. They're trying to win. So I didn't want to, just limit myself to the offseason. But there's a lot of guys that are going to be free agents next offseason that could be on the chopping block if the Steelers don't perform.
Yeah, if they have a shitty start to the season, and let's say they're like 3-5 after week 8.
Yeah, and then you have the gauntlet in the second half, right? So you have to have a good start.
You absolutely do, and then otherwise you could become sellers. I don't think Najee is one that gets traded, but I could easily see a Dan Moore Jr. or a James Daniels.
Yeah, those two are the most likely in my opinion, especially if it means getting a wide receiver. If you can land Cortland Sutton or DK Metcalf and what it's going to take is for you to give up James Daniels, I'm doing it.
Every day of the week.
I think Mason McCormick can start day one in the National Football League if called upon. Now, that would get rid of a little bit of your depth, but you do have Nate Herbig still on the roster. So if you don't want to cut him, maybe it's time to start moving some of these pieces around. I love James, by the way. I think Daniels is an awesome player. But, I mean, let's face it, man. We've got a surplus of offensive linemen right now, and we don't have enough wide receiver help, at least in my opinion. I like Roman Wilson, but are you trusting him to be your number 2 receiver to replace Deontay Johnson right away?
Probably not.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see. Van Jefferson, I mean, he's got a nice skill set that fits with this offense, I guess, but it's going to be interesting to see what they end up doing here. I would love for them to add another receiver like a Sutton or a Deebo Samuel.
That'd be cool.
That'd be really cool, man. That would really put the cherry on top of this offseason. So we got enough questions here?
Yeah, we're good to go.
All right, we're good to go here. Let's get into this mailbag right now. Can't wait to answer your questions surrounding the black and gold. My name is Jack Sperry. I'm the host of Steelers Talk, and today on the program, I'm going to be answering your questions on the black and gold here. The schedule release was this week. Lots of fun stuff for the Pittsburgh Steelers to discuss. But before we get into your questions, make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already to join the most interactive Steelers community here on YouTube. All right, we have watch parties, live watch parties for every single Steelers game, preseason, regular season, and postseason. Those are super fun. So if you want a place to hang out with your fellow Yinzers during game days, during the 2024 season, this is going to be the place for you. We also have daily and free Steelers content covering the news and rumors of the day. It's all 100% free. So if you want to stay up to date with everything surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers and you want to join a community of over 52,000 Yinzers that bleed black and gold, go ahead and click that subscribe button right now and join our family. We got a question here from Ricky Campbell, $5 super chat, says, I've had a lot of fans on Facebook saying Russell Wilson is washed up. I don't think so. Russell Wilson will help the Steelers win the division. So here's the thing with Russell Wilson, man. So in his final few years in Seattle, had no help from the offensive line whatsoever, was constantly under pressure, and he was still, year in and year out, a consistent MVP candidate. Okay, then he goes to Denver with Nathaniel Hackett, who in my opinion, now that Matt Canada's out of the league, he is the worst offensive play caller in football, right? He sucks, okay? And that was his play caller. And like the wide receivers there in Denver were not that great either. Cortland Sutton, I think, is more of a number 2 guy. He was his number 1 receiver. Jerry Jeudy has butterfingers for hands, can't catch the ball. He's got tiny hands too. I mean, he just didn't have a whole lot of help there. And then his running backs were always hurt. I mean, it was just a complete shit show there in Denver for Russ during the Nathaniel Hackett year. And then the next year with Sean Payton. Sean's a great coach, but he was not a good fit for Russell Wilson and his play style. Russ wants to be out there being a playmaker, throwing the ball deep, play action, deep shots, that sort of stuff. And Sean Payton wanted a point guard, somebody that could change the play at the line of scrimmage, all these different things, and then, get to the right play and then get rid of the ball quickly. That's not Russell Wilson's game, and it was like mixing oil and water. So no wonder why Russell Wilson didn't play as well as he did in Seattle those 2 years in Denver. Now he's heading to a situation here in Pittsburgh where he's being lined up with Arthur Smith, who wants to do play action, deep shots, down the field, and that is absolutely something that Russell Wilson can do well. So I think Russell Wilson is going to have a nice comeback year here in 2024. Then we got one from Making You Nervous, and he says, what's your concern level over Cam Hayward sitting out OTAs while he negotiates a new contract? I'm not concerned about this at all. Cam Hayward is somebody that I know is going to be on this roster ready to play for the 2024 season, no matter what happens during these negotiations. He has said himself, these are non-mandatory workouts here, the OTAs, right? He's going to be there for mandatory minicamp, all right? And I know people are like, well, he usually goes to the voluntary workouts, and that's true, but he wants a new contract. So he's by no means required to go. He's coming off groin surgery this offseason. He is getting older, so he might be looking to preserve himself a little bit here heading into the season, and maybe not going to voluntary workouts is part of that. So I think Cam Hayward is going to get an extension. It's going to be a relatively team-friendly deal because he's trying to win Super Bowls over these next 3 seasons to finish out his career. And he doesn't want to jeopardize the Steelers' chances of being able to put a good team around him. So I think they are going to get a deal done. He's going to be there for mandatory minicamp, and everything's going to be just fine. So let me know down there in the comments section, what is your concern level over Cam Hayward and that situation? Put it on a scale of 1 to 10 for me down there in the comments section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, put it on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not worried whatsoever, and 10 being I'm panicking, man. Then we got one from Scott Gilbert here. It says, do you think they use Justin Fields like they used Cordell Stewart? I think they should seriously consider this. So, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I do think that that's possible. Now, I don't think Fields will be on the field as much as Stewart was. I think that if Russ is going to get vast majority of the plays, and Fields will have a package, like they'll put him out there from time to time. They'll put him maybe in there for like 4th and short situations. He might be like their short yardage, tush-push type of quarterback option, and they might even use him on kickoffs. There's some interesting ideas on how to use him during kickoffs this year, but I don't think he's going to be like a person that's on there like 50% of the time or something like that. I do think Russell Wilson will be the on the field for most of the time, and then Fields will have certain packages that he gets in on the field. Then we got one from Alaska Corey. He says, Mr. Sperry, if you could trade for any wide receiver, who should you get? So if I could trade for anyone, I would trade for Brandon Ayuk. I love Brandon Ayuk's game. He's a good run blocker for his size. Elite route runner, would be an upgrade over Deontay Johnson immediately at that Z position spot. I don't think the 49ers would trade him. But out of all the guys that we have heard rumors about connected to the Steelers this offseason, I think Brandon Ayuk would be an excellent fit with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, before I get to the rest of your questions today, we talked about Russell Wilson here for quite a bit here already on today's mailbag. And if you want to get his officially licensed number 3 Steelers jersey, you can find it right now from our friends at Fanatics when you use our link, chatsports.com/Russ. If you use that link, Fanatics knows that we were the ones that sent you, and it helps support the channel. So I'm going to put that link to in the comments and description of today's show. And they have super high quality jerseys. It's the officially licensed Nike jerseys that they sell on their website. So it's fantastic stuff if you're a believer in Russell Wilson. And you think he's going to really change things here in Pittsburgh for the foreseeable future, you can go to chatsports.com/Russ and get your official Russell Wilson jersey in your closet today. Then we got one from a teaser who says, if you had to guess, do you think Corey Trice Jr. has a breakout season this year? If I'd have to guess, I would say no. And the reason why I would say no is because he did go in the 7th round for a reason. All right, he does have the injury risk, and I just don't know what the speed is going to be like coming off of that ACL injury, especially because he didn't get the development of that first season. And Corey was somebody that needed some development heading into the league, and he's going to have to essentially spend the second year in the league as his rookie campaign. He's going to have to learn the ropes of the league here when he's really expected to, this is kind of do or die time for somebody like Corey who was taken in the 7th round. They don't have time to wait 2 to 3 years and hope Corey becomes a starter. And I think a lot of people talk about Corey Trice Jr. the same way they talked about Calvin Austin III last year, like he was going to break out and be like an awesome superstar that was just going to be absolutely fantastic after missing his entire rookie season. And I'm just not sure if that's going to be the case. Now, is it possible he might be a nice rotation piece a good insurance policy in case one of the 2 top starters in this cornerback room get hurt? Sure, I think there's a good chance he makes the roster as a backup corner. But, even though it's possible he develops into a starter, I would say it's pretty unlikely at this point. Now, let me know down there in the comments section, is Corey Trice Jr. going to boom or bust in 2024? Type boom or bust for me down there in the comments section to let me know. Then we got one from Omar's Burner here, Black Diamond, who says, update on Cam Sutton. There's not much of an update there, honestly. The Steelers have met with him before the draft, and then they met with him again about a week after the draft. And it seems to me like the Steelers are going to wait on any potential penalty from the National Football League in terms of a suspension or a fine after his domestic incident in Florida earlier this offseason. But I think if it's a short suspension or if it's just a fine, the Pittsburgh Steelers will eventually sign Cam Sutton. All right, so make sure you guys go ahead and click that thumbs up icon. If you are a real one, you've subscribed to the channel, you support our show, clicking that thumbs up icon is not only free and easy and takes half a second of your time, but it really does help out our channel, tells the YouTube algorithm that you're enjoying our content, that they should push it out to other Steelers fans like yourselves. So if you want to help us grow, make sure you click that thumbs up icon and like today's video. Then we go on from Evander Khan, who says, do the Steelers have any realistic chance of winning a Super Bowl this year? So I think there's a chance. I'm not going to say the Steelers are number one on my list of teams that could win the Super Bowl this year, but I think they're a top 10 team in football for sure. And I think they have a quarterback in Russell Wilson that has been to that big game, has won that big game, and a similar kind of structure team-wise to the Steelers have now, right? They have a great defense like Seattle had back when they won that Super Bowl. They should have a really good run game, just like Seattle had with that Super Bowl run. And, Russ wasn't asked to do too much with that Seattle run with the Legion of Boom there. They had a great head coach, a great defense, a great run game, good weapons around him, and he did a good job delivering in the clutch and delivering victories in the postseason. I think Russell Wilson at 35 years old is more than capable of playing that role with a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers. So even though I don't think they're at the very top of the mountain right now in terms of Super Bowl odds, I do think there is some universes out there where the Pittsburgh Steelers win a Super Bowl in 2024. So sound off for me down there in the comments section. Does the Pittsburgh Steelers have any chance at winning a Super Bowl in 2024? Even a 1% chance? Let me know down there in the comments section by giving me a yes or no. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. I greatly appreciate your support. And until next time, folks, here we go, Steelers. 2 down, 1 to go here, Coop.
Yes, sir.
We got my official Steelers record prediction coming up next, so you're not going to want to go anywhere if you're watching at home. We got over 100 people watching around the world right now. We got 79 people that have liked today's show. I want to get to at least 100 likes right now. So let's get to 100 likes. And if we do that, I'll do a Beanboozled. Okay, so if you guys want to see me do a Beanboozled, let's get to 100 likes right now. We're 20 likes away. So if you haven't clicked that thumbs up icon yet, do that for me right now.
Let's go.
I'll do a Beanboozled, and we'll get into this final segment here momentarily.
Yoglob says Sean Payton's going to yell at his quarterback week 2.
Whoever it's going to be, right? I mean, Does anybody know who's going to be the starting quarterback? Will Bo Nix actually?
Whoever it is, they're going to stink because it's either going to be Bo Nix or Zach Wilson.
I cannot wait for Russell Wilson to look Sean Payton in his eyes after the game, shake his hand, and we just beat him by 30. And they're paying him $37 million to play against them this year. I mean, that would just be perfect, right?
The Steelers beat them like 42-10, and then they have to send them a check for a couple $1 million. Suck it.
The only thing that would be better than that is if they have to sit on their ass on the couch and watch Russell Wilson hoist the Lombardi Trophy, and they paid him $37 million to play against them this year. That would be good. That would be perfect, man. So right now we're 13 likes away. So I'll tell you what. Type me down there in the chat right now. I'll give some shout-outs to all the members of Steelers Nation that are supporting the channel today. We got Omar's Burner down there. We got Ballin 443. We got Voltic. We got Alaska Corey. We got Aiden. We got Robert. We got Chisholm. We got Michael. We got Travis. We got, how do you say this? Yoglobe? I hope I'm saying that right.
Yaglob, yeah, I guess so.
Alexander Sneed. Who else is here, man? We need 11 more likes before we get to this final segment. We got Yaglob. We got Jacob Wizerak. If you've clicked that thumbs up icon, get down there in the chat. I'll give you a shout out here real quick. We got Michael. We got another Michael. 2 Michaels in the chat here. We got Timothy. We got Ballin. We got Chisholm. We got Robert. We got Michael again. Got a good crew here, man. All right, let's get into this final segment now, Coop. One more segment to go. My full official 2024 record prediction for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's quite ambitious here, I might say.
A little ambitious.
It's a little ambitious,
all right,
but
though.
You know what? I think the Steelers can get it done.
And it's our channel, so we can do what we want.
I've been talking a big game all offseason,
Yeah.
talking about how much I like this football team, how much I think Russell Wilson's going to have
You
success
can't back
here.
down now.
Can't back down now. So let's get it going right now. My full 2024 predictions for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The 2024 NFL schedule is officially here. So today, I'm going to be giving my full record prediction for the Pittsburgh Steelers, going over all 17 games on the Steelers' schedule this year, letting you know whether I think they're going to win or whether they're going to lose that matchup heading into the 2024 campaign. Now, before we get into my official record prediction, help us move up the ranks here at Chat Sports. The Lakers Report by Chat Sports has 6 more subscribers than us. They are currently the 10th most subscribers out of any channel here at Chat Sports. Help us move into the top 10 right now of Chat Sports channels here at our company by clicking that subscribe button, joining our family, and getting access to our premium Steelers content 100% free every single day. Now let's get into the predictions here, starting with the Falcons in week 1, where I believe Arthur Smith is going to provide a nice little advantage here against his former team, and the Steelers are going to travel to Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, and they are going to come away with the victory. Russell Wilson's first game as a Pittsburgh Steeler. Arthur Smith going back to his former team. He has an intrinsic knowledge, guys, as the former head coach of that football team, of many of the starters on that team currently. Now, obviously, Atlanta, they have Kirk Cousins. They have some new pieces that didn't work with Smith there in Atlanta, but especially on defense, a lot of the core pieces that were a part of Smith's defense there in Atlanta are still there. He knows their strengths. He knows their weaknesses, and I think Smith is going to put together a really, really good game plan, and Russ and the offense are going to execute it to perfection. Then in week 2, another victory and another revenge game against the Denver Broncos at Mile High Stadium in Denver. I don't care about the altitude stuff, all these different things. It's going to be Bo Nix or Jarrett Stidham or Zach Wilson versus Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and a hungry Zach Wilson and a Pittsburgh Steelers team here. I think they might win this one by 20 to 30 points. I don't think they're going to let the foot off the gas pedal. I think the Steelers are going to start out the season 2-0, and I cannot wait to see Russell Wilson torch his former team and his former head coach, and for him to go to the middle of the field after he just beat them by 30 points, shake Sean Payton's hand, and have him know, you guys made a big mistake paying me $37 million to play against you. So let me know down there in the comments section, which Steelers game are you the most excited about heading into next year? For me, it's the Russ revenge game, week 2 versus Denver. I know there's a lot of great games, and I know the Steelers are probably going to win that one in a blowout, but that's one that I'm very excited to see. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by letting me know which game you're most excited about heading into 2024. Then we're going to start out our home schedule here against the Chargers with another victory. And listen, I think the Chargers are a team that some people expect to be pretty good this year. Jim Harbaugh's coming off a very successful 2 years there at the Michigan Wolverines. Justin Herbert's a very talented quarterback, and I think people are assuming that combination is going to hit the ground running. But here's the thing, man. Greg Roman is their offensive coordinator. He's pretty much a run game coordinator. He is terrible at scheming things up in the pass game. And if they're going to be relying on Justin Herbert in the passing game, I just don't think Greg Roman's going to be a good fit there. I think that also Harbaugh does things a certain way. It took him a while to really build a winning culture there with the Wolverines. I think it's going to take a while there in LA. Steelers are home here. I think they come away with an easy victory in week 3 in front of the Acrisure crowd. And then the first loss of the season, I think, will come week 4 against the Colts on the road. I think Anthony Richardson is really going to be primed to have a really great breakout season this year. Actually played pretty darn well before his injury last year, and he's just going to be coming in with another year of development with Shane Steichen, who really knows how to develop quarterbacks. They have Adonai Mitchell, Michael Pittman Jr. They got some really good players there in Indianapolis, plus you're playing them on the road. So out of these first 4 games, I think the Steelers go 3-1 with the most likely loss coming against the Colts. Then you get to Sunday Night Football, week 5 versus the Dallas Cowboys, and this is really going to be a litmus test for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because after that 3-1 start, people are going to be like, all right, Pittsburgh, are you really the real deal here? And, they're going to throw the Cowboys, who have a really good roster in front of you, and at home. So this is a game that could absolutely be had for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think they're going to go ahead and take the victory. And I think it's going to be close. I think that this one's going to come down right to the wire, and Russell Wilson's going to deliver a game-winning touchdown pass to George Pickens. And I think it's really going to put the Steelers on the map. And starting their season 4-1, people are going to start to say, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're the real deal. They just knocked off the Dallas Cowboys. Then in week 6, another victory. So we get to 5-1 against the Las Vegas Raiders. Kenny Pickett and the freaking Steelers last year, I mean, they beat the Raiders by multiple scores, right? So they should absolutely be able to do that again this year with Russell Wilson. It's Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew. Those quarterbacks do not scare me whatsoever with the Steelers defense coming after them. So I think that one will be a relatively comfortable win for the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. Then in week 7, I think the Steelers should beat the Jets. I'm not a big fan of Nathaniel Hackett, who I think is the worst offensive play caller in football now that Matt Canada's gone. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a disappointing year. I don't think the Jets are a playoff team, but there's always that one game every year where there's a team at home that the Steelers should beat, and they don't. And I think Aaron Rodgers delivers a game-winning touchdown drive on the Acrisure grass, and it'll end up being a loss on Sunday Night Football for the Steelers. But then you go on Monday Night Football, prime time against another New York team the following week, and you get a bounce-back victory heading into the bye week against the New York Giants. Daniel Jones freaking stinks. So does Drew Lock. I mean, our defense is going to swallow them up, and I think Russell Wilson's going to have a nice game. Yeah, producer Coop just said pause. And then we got the Week 9 bye, nice in the middle of the season to be able to have that bye. It's not too late in the season where you're going to lose your mojo, but also it gives you a nice break heading into the final stretch of the year. Then Week 10 against the Commanders on the road. Jaden Daniels is super talented, but they have no offensive line whatsoever. Steelers have an excellent pass rush. I think that's going to get ugly for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders in Week 10. And then you start the gauntlet here in Week 11 with the Baltimore Ravens, where you really start, you have 6 division games in 8 weeks, and you start with the Ravens. And I think they're going to win. As we know, Lamar Jackson does not play very well against Mike Tomlin defenses. And I think this one will probably be pretty close, but I do think that the Pittsburgh Steelers come out on top to start this gauntlet of a final stretch. But then, Thursday Night Football, it's a short turnaround against a pretty darn good football team in the Cleveland Browns. I think the Steelers are better than the Browns, but the Browns would be home in this matchup. They're going to be more rested than the Steelers. And I just think at this point, I think the Browns probably win a close one versus a tired Steelers team here in Week 12. Then in Week 13, another loss for the Steelers against another division opponent on the road against the Bengals. Joe Burrow and company, I think, come away with the victory there. Then we get to Week 14. And you have the Browns again, this time at home. You're more rested this time. You want revenge. And I think the Steelers get a nice bounce-back victory here in Week 14. Then Week 15, you travel to Philly, another physical game, just when you thought, after that stretch of division games, 4 straight division games from 11 to 14, just when you thought you got a break from that physicality, you have to go play the Eagles, who have an excellent offensive and defensive lines. Jalen Hurts, all these different things. A.J. Brown. It's just going to be another physical beatdown. I think that the Eagles are going to be able to come away with the victory. And guys, that would be 3 losses in the last 4. So I think at this point in the season, we would be looking at this Steelers team, and they're like, yeah, they had a really good start to the season, but now they're starting to lose some games. Is this really a contender to win the Super Bowl here in 2024? But then in Week 16, on the road against the Ravens, I think Russell Wilson delivers a game-winning drive on the road there at M&T Bank Stadium. I don't think either offense really plays super well in that game. I have a feeling that's going to be a weather game. Lamar Jackson, of course, doesn't play well against the Steelers, so I think the game is going to be close, and it's going to come down to which quarterback delivers the big moment. And I think Russell Wilson, in a really big moment in his first year here with the Steelers, delivers the victory in Week 16. Then a little bit of a surprise here. I'm going to have the Steelers beat the Kansas City Chiefs on Christmas. Now, my reasoning here is that the Steelers are home. If this was in Arrowhead, I would have the Chiefs winning, and I do think it's going to be close, and I think it could go either way. But do not count the Pittsburgh Steelers out this late into the season at Acrisure. There's going to be snow on the ground. It's going to be cold as hell. And I think it's going to come down to which team runs the football better. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are built to be a better run football team than the Kansas City Chiefs late in the season. And I do think that it's going to be close. Like I said, it could go either way. But I think the Steelers have a pretty damn good shot to win that Week 17 matchup. Then in Week 18 against the Bengals, if the Steelers need that game to win the division or to make the playoffs, give me the Steelers to win that every single time at home, leading to a split with the Pussycats there in Cincinnati. Now, the final record projection here after all these games, 12-5. That's going to firmly put you in the AFC playoff picture, and it's going to give you one hell of a shot to be the AFC North champions heading out of the 2024 season and heading in to the 2024 NFL playoffs. Now it's your turn. Let me know down there in the comments section, what is your Steelers record prediction for the 2024 campaign? I think they're probably going to win somewhere between 10 and 12 games. I kind of had it more on the higher end there with the 12 because I think they're going to sweep the Ravens just like they did last year. But let me know down there in the comments section, what is your Steelers record prediction for this year's campaign? Now, before I go, I do have some extra notes here, some little extra tidbits from my schedule release here and my predictions. I think their division record is going to be 4-2. They split with the Browns and Bengals, but then they sweep the Ravens just like they did last year. And every year, says Coop. Then we got home record 7-1. I think Russell Wilson and the Steelers are going to do a really good job protecting their home turf. Their only loss coming against the New York Jets on Sunday Night Football in the first half of the year. But then the road record will be a little bit more concerning. Losing 5 games on the road. All of your division losses come on the road. Philly on the road as well. And Indy on the road in Week 4. So, most of your losses do come on the road. And if you have to play road playoff games, I think that will be a legitimate concern of this team heading into the postseason. But I think the ceiling is 14 wins, but that's like if Russell Wilson plays at a top 10 level, he's back to his old ways, they could absolutely get to 14 wins with the kind of roster that they have if Russell Wilson performs at that level. But if at the very worst here, with the way Mike Tomlin is able to get the most out of these football teams year in and year out, with the way the roster is constructed right now, I can't see this team winning any less than 8 games, which of course would be Mike Tomlin's first losing season if they win exactly 8 games. But I really do think that's the floor. I think it's probably more of realistically 10 to 12 games is probably what can be expected there. And if you want to put that right down the middle, right down the fairway and predict 11 wins this year, I think that's a pretty fair assumption for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, that'll be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate your support. If you want to check me out on social media, I'm at Jack_Sperry on X or at SpareDog.football on Instagram. And make sure you guys go click that subscribe button right now, because if you made it to the end of today's video, we're going to be having another video tomorrow just like this. So if you watch our shows, you love the content that we put out, help us out right now by clicking that subscribe button and joining our family. All right. So I see a lot of 17-0s, and
I saw a 20-0 in there. If you go 20-0, that means you win the Super Bowl.
Well, not only that, but you're the best team in the history of all time.
Let's go.
And if they went 20-0, that means Russell Wilson is probably the MVP of the league.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And I'm optimistic about Russ. I'm not that optimistic.
We were talking off air, and I think you said it perfectly. The floor is 8 wins.
Yeah.
And I think the ceiling is 14. I think if everything goes right, they can go 14.
If Russ plays at a top 10 level, he's consistently winning these close games.
And they stay healthy.
And this defense is as dominant as we think it's going to be.
Yeah.
They could win 14 games.
They could.
But I think the more like I said, the more realistic window, 10 to 12 in my opinion, give or take, right? It's going to depend on those really close games against like Kansas City, Philadelphia, Dallas, these games that could go either way with two good football teams. That's what's going to really decide whether they win 10 or whether they win 11 or whether they win 12.
Is that Cowboys game a Sunday night?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one.
And that's really going to be a big test for the Steelers early in the season. And I think the Colts game will be too, because I think the Colts are going to be kind of the surprise breakout team this year.
Yeah, we'll see. Anthony Richardson had a promising start to his career before he got hurt. New coach coming in there as well. So I could see the Colts being a team that maybe makes the playoffs.
I think so. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me if they won the division over Houston. And
Really?
that's crazy to say,
You
I
think
know,
so?
because Houston had a great offseason. They have a young quarterback, and everyone's high on Houston right now. And I get it. I'm right there with you. But Houston, they've got or Indianapolis, they've got some serious talent on that team.
Yes, they do.
And they have excellent coaching, on the offensive side of the ball. And defensive, by the way. They got Gus Bradley, really good defensive coordinator there in Indy. So if Anthony Richardson has the breakout season that we've seen from guys like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, he's an MVP candidate next year. I mean, it's very possible that team is the AFC South champions next year. I'm not necessarily going to say I'm going to put money on it because Houston is really freaking good. But, I think Indianapolis might be one of the tougher games the Steelers have on their schedule.
It's a very strange schedule, too, because you don't play a division opponent until Week 11.
Yeah, and an NFL executive today said, we didn't intend for the Steelers to have 6 divisional games. You made the schedule! What are you talking about? You didn't intend for it to happen. You made the goddamn schedule, man.
What are you talking about?
Just own it. Just say we
messed up.
No, or say that's the way it.
That's the way it is.
That's the way it came out. That's what they should say. They shouldn't say, it wasn't intentional and all this different stuff. That's just straight up bullshit, man.
It clearly was.
I mean, I'm fine with it because at the end of the day, you have to beat good football teams to
absolutely.
And if the Steelers can make the playoffs after that gauntlet, that means they've played playoff caliber football teams for 8 straight weeks heading into the offseason or into the postseason. And that means that they are battle tested. All right. They know the intensity level that you have to play at week in and week out. Now, the downside to that is they might be tired as hell. They might be just beat the fuck up heading into the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely.
After playing that many good teams. So it's going to be interesting, man. We're going to be here every step of the way with you guys for our watch parties. It's going to be so much fun wearing the Russell Wilson jerseys and waving the towel. And I can't wait to see what this team looks like. I am so much more excited for this year's team, Coop, than I was for last year's team.
Yeah, I mean, this team has a legit chance to contend for the AFC title. So I would say the same, honestly.
Yeah, if Russell Wilson plays the way that I think he's capable of playing, 35 years old, still has a cannon of an arm, he's not going to be asked to do too much in this offense. And what they are asking him to do is stuff he does well.
Exactly.
Throw the ball deep, off of play action, quick game stuff, quick slants. That's stuff that he has done throughout his career. And then when they need him to go out and make a big play, whether it be late in the game or whether it be on a big third down, he's still capable of being a playmaker. We saw that in flashes last year in Denver, but let's just face it and say what it was. Sean Payton and Russell Wilson were a completely broken marriage from the start in terms of play style from the quarterback and the offensive coordinator and play caller wanted to run. It just was never going to work. But I think this pairing with Russ and Arthur Smith can work, and I'm just happy that Russ finally gets another chance to really prove himself. Because these last 2 years, Coop, he has been fucked by Nathaniel Hackett and Sean Payton.
You're not wrong.
He has been fucked by them, plain and simply. The first one just straight up sucks, and then the second one is a terrible fit for his play style.
Yeah.
What do you expect? Of course he's not going to play as well as he did in Seattle. I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on the Steelers because they're sleeping on Russell Wilson, and I'm excited to see what this team could do with him as their quarterback. And by the way, this completely blows Kenny Pickett for a third year out of the water. At least now, the Steelers have a legitimate chance to win a Super Bowl this year. All right, it might be a 1 or 2 or 3% chance. It's not like the Chiefs where it feels like they have a 50% chance to win the Super Bowl every year. But hell, man, I'm taking it over 0. I'm taking it over whatever Kenny Pickett was going to give us.
No question.
So I'm excited, man. I'm excited no matter what happens. If Russ stinks, we still get Justin Fields for the second half of the season, which will be fun. So no matter what happens, this is going to be a great season. I can't wait to share with you guys. You guys are the best damn Steelers community on YouTube. And I just can't thank you guys enough for all the support. So that's going to be it for today's show.
We'll see you guys soon.
We'll see you guys later here. And until next time.